What's up, friends? So I get some comments, some questions on some of my videos that are really good questions that, maybe I don't have, necessarily enough material to make a full video out of it, but I wanted to kind of do this video and go through some of the comments that I ran across that I thought were really good questions, really good comments to address for a little Q&A kind of video here. So let's get right into that. This first question is asking, what is the difference between the 11 Bravo MLS and the 11 XRay MLS? So 11 Bravo is the actual official MLS for an infantryman. Now the 11 X-ray is just kind of like a temporary one. You're not going to come in the Army, after OSIT and still be an 11 X-ray. That's really just how you come into OSIT to be either an 11 Bravo or an 11 Charlie. And you start off as that 11 X-ray. It's just the temporary one. At some point during OSIT, they're going to decide for this situation who is going to be the 11 Bravos and who are going to be 11 Charlies. Most often, currently anyways, 11 Bravo is usually the majority of people that become 11 Bravo, and then a certain other smaller percentage will become 11 Charlies. But 11 X-ray is just simply a temporary MOS designator while you're going through OSIT until they assign you to either 11 Bravo or 11 Charlie. This next question is asking, can you end up getting deployed while in ETS? So basically the question is asking, when you come to the end of your Army contract, it's time to ETS, retire, whatever the case might be. This one I'm sure is probably more talking about ETS. And let's say you're doing 4 years in the Army and that 4 years is coming up to end and your unit's about to deploy. Are you still gonna, ETS or whatever? So back a long time ago, a while back, they used to have stop loss. And stop loss would prevent you from being able to ETS if your unit was on orders to deploy. And that would basically make it to where the Army would just involuntarily extend you for an additional year or whatever they had to do to kind of make you be in for long enough to be able to go on that deployment with your unit. So people would, have an ETS date and then they would be told, hey, you're stop lost, you're gonna be extended out until this date, and that would basically bring them through the deployment and then have them go through the whole clearing process and final out process and all that stuff that you have to do to get out of the Army after they come back from the deployment. Now, President Obama got rid of that back in, 2008, 2009, they got rid of stop loss. And so they did away with that. So now, if you're coming up on ETS orders to get out of the Army and your unit's about to deploy, you're just probably not gonna go with them. You're probably gonna get stuck on rear D. They're not gonna go through the effort of sending you off on the deployment, so you're probably gonna stay behind, maybe transfer over to another unit, probably get stuck doing a lot of crummy details, and then eventually get out of the Army. So you won't be involuntarily extended anymore. You will still be able to ETS even if your unit is about to come up on orders for a deployment. So this next comment was actually a comment on the 2 Minute Tuesday video talking about the ID card, and it asks, so each time you get promoted, you have to get a new one done? When you get a new one done, does your photo need to be current? So this question specifically is talking about when you move up in rank. Do you have to get a new ID card to reflect that new rank, and do you have to get a new picture each time you're getting that new ID card? Now typically when you're getting an ID card, you're going to a location called DEERS. Sometimes it's done at this other place called SRP, but common one is at the DEERS location, which is the building. They handle mainly ID cards at that location for both military, contractors, spouses, retired, all that kind of stuff. So if you get promoted, then yeah, you essentially are going to get a new ID card to reflect that new promotion so that it shows the correct rank. And each time you get a new ID card, you're going to get a new picture. Now, some people might wait, let's say going from E1 to E2, because you're probably going to be an E2 for a short amount of time before moving to E3. It just kind of varies and depends. Sometimes some people wait a little bit, but yeah, typically you're going to get a new ID card for each one. And then when you go in there, sometimes the lines are horrible. They're really long. It takes you forever sometimes to get through the process, but you go down, you sit down, you turn in your old ID card, they type up the information for the new ID card, they take your picture right there, and then have you do your fingerprint, have you enter a new PIN card or a PIN for that CAC little chip that's in the ID card, and then you'll get it printed off right away, and then you'll get a new ID card that has a new picture and your new rank. So moving on to the next question, which is, I don't think this is an MOS, but can you cover the Army side of becoming an instructor for JROTC? If you're not familiar with what JROTC is, it's basically a high school program that allows high school students to learn about the Army. They do drill and ceremonies. They learn about a lot of different structure in the Army. They have their own JROTC Army uniform that looks pretty much very similar to an Army uniform that they sometimes wear on certain days. But they do have instructors, and those instructors that teach it are people who were in the Army. So kind of key thing of were. I at one point was interested in being a JROTC instructor, but the requirements for it are typically you have to have retired from the Army and have been at least a staff sergeant or above. I didn't retire from the Army, I got out after 10 years, so I don't technically qualify to be a JROTC instructor. There are some cases, I believe, of people who are on active duty, maybe reserve, maybe National Guard. I'm not really too sure how the active duty part works, how they're able to get it. I feel like it's kind of a rare situation that they don't always allow, but most part, the main instructors are usually retired individuals, people who have retired from the Army that are those instructors teaching JROTC. This next question was left on my video that talked about the process of getting out of the Army. And this individual asked, could you do a video on the process of re-enlisting? So I don't necessarily need the whole entire video, but I will answer the question. And essentially, each unit is going to have what is called a retention NCO. And basically, the job of that individual is to try to get people to re-enlist. That's kind of their primary job, is to help them through that process of re-enlistment, going over their options that they want to do. Now, right around about a year out from getting out of the Army is when it'll be available to kind of start this process. Sometimes you can do a little farther out. Sometimes you can obviously do less than a year out, and they'll try to probably nag you for that from a year on until you're about to get out to try to get you to re-enlist. But somewhere in that time frame is when you can start the process. Talk to the retention NCO, find out how many years you want to re-enlist for. Sometimes they'll have options to choose your duty station, where you want to go to. If you want to stay there, you can stay there, or if you want to move somewhere else. Sometimes there's bonuses, and they'll talk over that. Sometimes there's options for like going to college for a semester. A lot of different options, and that's where you're kind of negotiating with that career counselor before you're signing on the dotted line. After you've signed everything, then most likely you're going to do a ceremony. You can elect not to do a ceremony. I've done that maybe like once or twice, but a lot of people maybe want to do the ceremony. And the ceremony usually has you and probably like an officer. It could be a lieutenant, it could be a captain. It just kind of varies of who the person is, who it is you want to have re-enlist you. Maybe it might be your company commander, it might be your platoon leader, but they have this little piece of paper they're reading off of, having you repeat after them. You're basically swearing in again, is basically what you're doing. And then there's somebody probably standing behind you guys that's holding an American flag, holding a guide on, holding something, sometimes just for photo op purposes. A lot of people like to try to choose cool locations to re-enlist at. Maybe it's in the back of a helicopter, maybe it's on the side of a mountain, maybe it's some other cool place. The first time I re-enlisted on the Bridge of No Return, right on the border of North and South Korea. So it kind of had a cool little backdrop to it. I don't remember if I have any pictures of it, probably not, but that's kind of an option that you have usually too, of where you want to re-enlist at. And then after that, then you've signed a new contract and now you have a new ETS date. So I think this next question was actually left on my top 5 duty stations, and the individual was asking, I'm going to Fort Riley in January, what's wrong with it? I already know it's cold there. And the reason why this person is asking that is because I talked about my first duty station was Fort Riley, and I didn't like it, and I've probably said it before, like in live streams when people have asked me about Fort Riley. Now, some people love Fort Riley, some people hate it. It's just kind of personal opinion. For the most part, the reasons why I didn't like Fort Riley was there wasn't a lot to do. You had a very small town outside of Fort Riley on both sides. You had Junction City and Ogden, I think was the other name of the town, and there wasn't a whole lot in those towns, especially like Junction City at the time when I was stationed there. It was really just the Walmart and then a lot of pawn shops, check cashing places, a couple strip clubs. There wasn't a whole lot to Junction City at the time when I was there back in the early 2000s. I don't know how much it's improved or if it even has improved. But then to go a little farther out, you had to go 30 minutes to Manhattan, which did have a lot more options. But like back when I was there, the college individuals didn't really like the military too much because I think maybe they were afraid that the guys were going to steal the college girls, but then the college girls didn't even really like the Army guys either. But it was kind of just this battle between Army and college at the time when I was there. So not a lot of people really wanted to go to Manhattan for a whole lot to do in that area, so you have to go even farther out. Now, there are some people that really love Fort Riley because there are a lot of great places to go, like fishing and hunting. So if you're into those kind of things, there's some great locations to do that. And those are commonly the people that I've found that really like that location, or maybe people that are from that area because it's close to family. But just in my opinion, my experience back in the early 2000s, I didn't really like the duty station. There wasn't a whole lot to do, and just wasn't feeling it, I guess. So there you go. Those are like a handful of questions that I kind of just grabbed onto and thought they might make for a good explanation in this video. If you have some questions about the Army, feel free to leave some comments down in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer them. Maybe they'll end up in another version of this video. Maybe we'll try to do some more of these quite often, or every so often have a little kind of Q&A video like this where I pull some good questions out of the comments from the videos. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you show us some love so I know to do more of these, and hit that thumbs up button. If you want to check out some other videos, right over there, they're great to start off with, as well as check out the links down below to social media. Thanks for watching. I'm Christopher Chaos. I'll see you next time. See ya.